YouTube battle community, MC5 fans, random people on the internet, my name is Giggens, and we're here today to talk about the MC5's debut album, also their first live album, Kick Out the Jams, released through Elektra Records in 1969. This is a rock and roll classic. If you've never heard this album before, you're missing out. This is absolute live rock and roll, in your face, just nuts, crazy, guitar screaming, drums going wild of an experience. Let alone lyrically and vocally as well, but just a massively influential album on punk bands, on of course rock revival bands. I mean, this was one of the groups that changed a lot about rock and roll, and we got into this one when I was in high school. I remember watching they had those VH1 like bands of the '60s kind of thing, or whatever it was, 100 greatest bands of all time. And the MC5 were listed somewhere in that list. And, the intro to their bit, a little bit of biography about them was, right now, we need to kick out the jams! Brothers and sisters, yeah, I gotta kick them out! I mean, it's like, and, I remember my brother and I were watching this thing and be like, huh, who are these guys? Because, we grew up, rock and roll kind of thing, so hearing somebody like this was like, wow, who are these guys? Never heard of them before. And my brother went out and bought the record, and that was it. We just fell in love with them, and he bought the other ones too. This one in particular, I really am so excited about because I was at an antique store recently. Was digging through records they had there, and this particular section I was in had some good stuff in it. And I pulled this thing out. I'm like, oh wow, that's cool. You don't see that every day because I don't have this one. My brother's got one. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I opened it up, and I'm like, oh, it's got the liner notes in there. That's something you don't see every day. I wonder if the liner notes are censored. Nope. Drops the F-bomb in several places, so that's cool. Okay, that's cool. Pulled it out. I'm looking at the label. I'm looking at the back. I'm on Discogs. And at that time, I wasn't anywhere near a record player, so I couldn't listen to it. It wasn't until I got back here and put it on, and all of a sudden the uncensored original version of Kick Out the Jams came on, and I just lost my damn mind. I never in a million years thought I would have had an original uncensored Kick Out the Jams. And by the way, I paid $6 for this. That's it. From what I know, it's worth a lot more than that. There were so many variants of this album where there's like, no... Let me open this back up again. A lot of the censored ones don't have the liner notes in the original. They censored Kick Out the Jams, of course, with rephrasing MRF with Brothers and Sisters. I don't swear on this channel a lot. I know it's not very rock and roll, but I don't really swear on this channel. But they, replaced it with Brothers and Sisters, and it's so much more common to find the censored version. And online, it's only censored. If you play on Spotify, they only play the censored version, which I think is crap. But, putting this on, I made a video to send to my brother because I was like, dude, we found one. Like, here it is. Never thought I'd ever have this one, but the experience of this album is definitely something that takes you through a journey. I mean, for a live show, their live act was absolutely knockout, just the stuff of rock and roll dreams. With how manic and how much energy they had, they were just a hell of a live band. So this album opens with Ramblin' Rose, which is sung by Wayne Kramer, the guitarist here, which I think is really cool because it kind of gives you this introductory kind of flavor before Rob Tyner comes in with Kick Out the Jams. But, get this introductory intro kind of explaining the band, getting everybody ready for them to come on. They come on doing Ramblin' Rose. Wayne sings it. The solos on this thing are awesome. The wild guitars, the really pounding bass. It's a hell of an opener track. And Wayne sings in this sort of falsetto the whole time, which, I don't know, I'm not sure if it was a put on or that's just his voice, but I absolutely love it. And that song ends, Rob's there, and all of a sudden you get that Kick Out the Jams, and they just wail into one of the heaviest rock songs of all time. It's just perfection. It's high energy. It's crashing constantly. And Rob Tyner's vocals are just bursting at the seams. One thing I always loved about him vocally was he always sounded like he was on the edge of his rope, which makes for a really expressive listening experience. It's kind of like Otis Redding for me, where Otis always sounded like he was on the edge of the most amazing love you ever had or the worst heartbreak you ever experienced, Rob's voice is always like on the edge of like, look, this revolution's happening right now. Like, this has to happen. And they were definitely a very political band because they were really involved with, anti-war stuff and all the protests that were going on, and just, I mean, they were a product of the late '60s. I mean, that was a really turbulent time, and their music kind of reflects that in their sound for sure. And lyrically, yeah, but their music, if they never put out any lyrics, musically they would have been still a really fascinating document of encapsulating the feel of what that would have been like. Obviously, I didn't live through the '60s, but I've read so much about it, and I've talked to enough people from that time where I kind of get an idea of what it was like. But and Kick Out the Jams, the song itself really captures that. It's just an absolute guitar frenzy of a track. It's just one of the most amazing things ever recorded. I absolutely adore that song. Come Together, I love the repeated vocal passages on this one. It's got some quieter moments, which is cool, but the energy that this song transmits is just palpable. You can feel it coming off the record. It's amazing. And again, Rob's voice is just at the end of his rope. This is so fun to listen to. I love the jamming at the end of this one, too. Then you get Rocket Reducer 64, Remalema Fa Fa Fa, which is, it references Kick Out the Jams, which I think is really cool. But a really chugging song with a lot of feedback. And then we continue with Brother Wayne Kramer, the riff machine here. And the chorus on this thing is so good. I'm the man for you, baby. It's so catchy. And then it gets stuck in your head for weeks. And it sounds like it was one of those songs that must have been so fun to play live. I've never learned a lot of their songs. I've learned a few of them, but never all of them. And that one in particular sounds like a lot of fun. And then that's side one. There's only 8 songs on this album. It's only a short album, but track 1 on side 2, Borderline here. I love the group vocals on this one. The frenzied drums, the start and stop tempos. And again, the relentless craziness that drives this song non-stop. And then it kind of goes like this half-speed thing, which I think is really cool. But dynamically, this song kind of shows what else the group can do besides just full throttle, let's go crazy. They actually show that there could be some changes here and still keep it interesting to listen to. But just, it rips through the speakers, man. What a song. Motor City is Burning is a really interesting track. Real heavy, slow burner blues song. Total 12-bar blast with some excellent soloing, and Rob is just wailing over this one. Definitely a song of the times. They're from Detroit, and they went through a lot. I mean, they all lived together. The FBI was looking at their place. They were part of these different parties. They were affiliated with people the government did not like. They had a target on their back at that point in time. And to sing a song about, Motor City is Burning is just a really heavy topic. Interesting track. I Want You Right Now follows that one. This one has like a Wild Thing vibe to it, which I think is great because so many, garage rock bands of the day loved that riff, and so they would take that riff and kind of make it their own. This one also has some softer moments to show some more dynamics and dimension to what they can produce. And there's also some really quiet moments before it just explodes into a loud frenzy, which I think is really cool. But it's got a good heavy jam feel to it. And then you get Starship, which is actually a Sun Ra cover, which they kind of made their own, which I think is very interesting. But I love the rhythm on this song. Excellent riffing again, great guitar work. And it gets kind of spooky and trippy in the middle, which I think is pretty fun. But hell of a live album. This thing just takes you on a journey. Again, if you've never heard of the MC5, if you've never heard any of their music, this is easily the best place to start, and they get better from here. Back in the USA is a great album. Then they put out High Time, which I only think they did 3 albums. I think 2 of them were studio and the first one was live. High Time is amazing too. And from what I've heard about from the guys, that's one of their favorite albums because they really showed how much they can grow and write with a track like that. But here's the original Inside with the original uncensored lyrics, or not lyrics, but the John Sinclair introduction. So they were buddies there. They worked together. Who's their manager. And here's the label. This version in particular has the MC5 logo on here as the band name. There are some that exist without that just say MC5, sort of a plain text. It was also issued on a gold label, again with their name either just written out normally or with their logo for the title. But this one has their actual MC5 logo there. Yeah, their tenure with Electro was very short. They put out an advertisement at one point. They threw on the Electro logo at the bottom, and Electro did not like what they were doing, so they cut them off there. But you know, for a label that had so many other groups on it that were so far out ahead of their time, you'd think they'd be okay with some of the messages that they were talking about because it was that time. But here's the back cover. Great shot of Rob taking the mic there. But yeah, this album for me has always been like when I want messy, loud rock and roll that captures your imagination and takes you somewhere else. If you've had a bad day or something, you just want to like let loose. This is the album that started a lot of groups to get up and play the guitars. I especially think this inspired punk for sure. Or one of the groups that inspired punk. But man, this is a record that takes you somewhere, and it's an experience you will not forget because of the just passion that they have in their playing and their vocal style, their lyrical content. This is an album not to be missed or messed with. MC5 Kick Out the Jams. So for me, 10 out of 10, hands down, one of my favorite rock records of the 60s and all time, really. But if you want rock and roll, this is rock and roll. This is as crazy and as fun and as ripping as it gets. There's some great videos of them playing live from back in the day. Check them out. If you're new to the MC5, start here and then work your way through the rest of their records. But if you haven't heard this in a while, turn it on, turn it up, turn it loose. My name is Giggens. This has been the MC5 Kick Out the Jams. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Let me know what you think about this thing in the comments below so we can chat about it, because I'm always curious to hear your thoughts. But thanks again, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.